You're listening to Systemic Error Podcast. The failure was designed.
Trump court tactic just blew up in his face. Analysis based on an article by Adam Lynch. Trump's $10 billion lawsuit is not about defamation. The weapon is the process. Donald Trump's suit against the BBC is not a clean legal dispute over editing choices. It is a familiar political move, used the court system to punish a media outlet for telling a story he does not like, then treat the cost of defense as part of the victory. The complaint centers on a Panorama edit of Trump's January 6th speech, where the BBC juxtaposed his fight like hell language with the omitted call for peaceful protest. The BBC apologized and declined to pay. That should have been the end of the matter. Instead, Trump escalated to a $10 billion defamation claim. That number is not a legal theory. It is intimidation dressed up as damages. Discovery cuts both ways. Trump appears to have expected the usual asymmetry. He sues, the other side bleeds money, and he gets to play victim while the target pays lawyers. Judge Roy Altman initially gave him what looked like a gift by allowing discovery while the motion to dismiss was pending. But litigation is not a one-way harassment machine when the other side can subpoena back. That is what happened. U.S. Magistrate Judge Angelique let the BBC pursue subpoenas for Trump advisors, confidants, family members, and records tied to his finances. If Trump wants $10 billion, he does not get to hide the accounting behind slogans. He has to show the work. The real story is January 6. The legal fight is nominally about editing. The political fight is about what Trump meant on January 6 and whether his own words can be framed as something less than a command structure for the crowd he sent toward the Capitol. That is why the BBC wants people around him, including Roger Stone, Steve Bannon, Rudy Giuliani, Melania Trump, and his children, not because they are decorative witnesses, but because they sit in the orbit of intent, coordination, and aftermath. Trump's camp is trying to make this look like a media error. The source material points to something more serious, an effort to sanitize the record of a deliberate political act. Public media under siege. The BBC is not just defending one broadcast, it is defending the principle that powerful people do not get to convert hurt feelings into multi-million or billion-dollar penalties against journalists. A public broadcaster forced to contemplate a 9 or 10-figure payout is a public broadcaster taught to fear the next hard story. That is the point of these suits. Not correction, but deterrence. This is where the story's framing matters. If a newsroom makes a mistake, it can be corrected. If a president uses litigation to impose financial terror on reporting, that is not error correction. It is pressure politics by other means. The damage is not limited to the BBC. Every outlet watching this learns the same lesson. Report too aggressively on the wrong billionaire and you may spend years defending yourself instead of covering the public. Small firm, big bluster. Trump's lawyer Alejandro Brito is presented in the source as underbuilt for a case of this scale. An 8-lawyer shop, deadline problems, boilerplate objections, and procedural misfires. That detail matters because it strips away the mythology. This is not the disciplined machinery of a serious meritorious claim. It is a familiar Trump pattern: maximum threat, minimum institutional seriousness, and a hope that volume substitutes for legitimacy. When the machinery is sloppy, the coercion still happens. The difference is that the mess becomes visible in court. The pattern is authoritarian litigation. What this episode reveals is not just Trump's appetite for revenge, but a larger model of political power, used the law as a cudgel, turned public institutions into targets, and forced journalists to choose between reporting and survival. That model does not need to win every case. It only needs to make resistance expensive enough to discourage everyone else. This is how power launders itself through procedure. A public figure inflates damages, weaponizes discovery, and calls the result accountability. It is not accountability. It is a legal costume for intimidation. You've been listening to Systemic Error. Thanks to Alternet for today's article with the automated voice of Ryan. Thanks for listening.